Welcome to the Basketball Show podcast edition on Stingray Radio. I'm your host, Paul Sir. Pleased to be joined this morning by Brian Swain. And Big Ryan, of course, is here. And we welcome all of you back this morning. We have a great show today. Text and poll question. I'm going to send it over to you, Ryan.
Yeah, today over on Twitter, basketball_show. Make sure to cast your vote. NBA-related questions. The play-in just happened. My Sacramento Kings went down, but there are teams still to cheer for in the playoff picture. Today's poll: which team that advanced from the play-in tournament is most likely to win in round one of the NBA playoffs? The Lakers, the Heat, the Pelicans, or the Sixers? Make sure to cast your vote over on our Twitter right now. The poll is up, and we'll read results as we go along as well. We're going to do the text line question again. The number 833-401-1440. That's 833-401-1440. Text us your prediction for who is winning the NBA Finals and why, and we will read the best one. So, yeah, make sure to interact, and you'll get a shout on the show today, Paul.
Yeah, you have the text line, the poll question, and we look forward to hearing from you. Before we get started on basketball, today's this is a personal note. Today, I'm dedicating this show to Sandra's and my son, Ben, who passed away a year ago. He was brother to Steve, Sam, and Ethan. He was a great uncle to all our grandchildren, great friend to Minnie, wonderful grandson. Ben passed away a year ago, and we're going to be featuring his music on the show from his band, Worst Day Down. And on behalf of Ben, who spent his life being kind to others, please be kind to those people that you love, but also be kind to everyone that you encounter. We don't walk in each other's shoes, and we really don't know what people are dealing with. So when you see people struggling, please remember to be kind to them. Look for the best in others. Ben was always looking for the best in others. But also remember, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. And from our family, I want to thank all of those who have shown us over this last year so much kindness and compassion, and it means a great deal to our family. It never makes up for the loss of someone so significant in our lives, but through it, going through the grieving process and going through what our family and those that knew and loved Ben have gone through, the kindness is one of the things that I am most grateful for. Today, let's talk NBA playoffs. We have the play-in rounds, whatever in the world those are, done, with the NBA coming up with their weird formula. But now that it's done, I'm going to start with what I consider to be the end of the era, and that is the unceremonious departure of the Golden State Warriors. Brian, it was with a whimper, not a bang. I think what we saw is Father Time decided to punch the clock and say, you guys had a great run, but time to move on.
Yeah, it's funny how these things just kind of there was reason. There was a lot of hope for the Warriors with the way they played the last couple months, and maybe they could get hot and make a run and win a series or two, maybe even three. I wouldn't expect that many, but if they got the right draw, they could get back to the Western Conference Finals, and who knows what happens there. But I think I saw some commentary that suggested that they got last year. They advanced past the first round, of course. And sorry to keep bringing up a Sacramento series here, Ryan, but they beat the Kings in 7 games. But Steph Curry had an all-timer in that Game 7. And then he pretty much single-handedly willed them into the second round. And it's kind of almost like that was like a false positive, where people thought there was still, it might have encouraged the organization that there was more tread left on their tires than there really was. But I thought they looked really good at points down the stretch. And if they hadn't ended up in the draw they were in, let's say if they were in the position the Lakers were in and got the Pelicans in the first game, I think they might have won. And that's just separate. A couple wins separate that from that point. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. They've had an incredible run. It's hard to believe that it's been, I think, a dozen years now since, or 11 years maybe, since their first finals appearance. So, I mean, it's
been a run.
It has. It's been a great run. It's been, and I think we all thought that it was their dynasty was over the first time. They kind of rebounded and won the championship again a couple of years ago. So that's what I think, Paul, is the measure of a true dynasty, is when you have teams that they fall off a little bit, but then they regroup and they can kind of pull themselves together and they go through some dramatic changes. And I'll use the analogy of the Oilers here in Edmonton. They won 4 of their first 5 Stanley Cups, and the Gretzky trade happened, but they rebounded and still won another Stanley Cup without Gretzky, and that's what happened. They went through all the tumult of the trades with Durant leaving, and came back and won another title. So I think they're one of the all-time greats, but this might be it.
I think they're one of the all-time greats as well, but I go back to, I'll use your term, false positive. Their upset I would consider it to be an upset of the Kings last year, was just because I think the last gasp of greatness that they were. But when you look this year, Klay Thompson, the injuries just ravaged the poor guy. He's a Hall of Fame player. He actually, in the last 10 games that you were mentioning, had played much better. He was a big part of the reason why they were winning, and then he doesn't score against the Kings. That's father time at play. That's what happens to great players when their skills start eroding, is that all of a sudden in a particular game they'll disappear, and they don't have the youth, they don't have the strength to will it back in. And so that's number one. Number two, what do you do with Draymond Green? I mean, how do you maintain any kind of focus when you have that idiot doing what he does? And he is an idiot because he doesn't control himself. He attacks teammates. It's not like and you listen to his podcast, very well spoken, intelligent man, lots of fun to listen to. You watch him play and you just want to just throw him out the exit, because there's just that kind of over competitiveness. There's no excuse for it when you go to the level he does, and the distraction, the effect on team culture is just so destructive. And then it's going back to my comments I made earlier, I want to be kind to Andrew Wiggins, but where did he evaporate to this year? Like, he must have had personal issues that took away from his focus on the play that he showed on the court. He was an all-star 2 years ago. He's still in his 20s. I just don't understand. He's been such an enigma throughout his career. And now, it's just, the door's shut. Father Time has taken over, and they're going to have to do things differently moving forward. Steph Curry, I think for another 1 or 2 years, can still be top 10, top 15 in the NBA. He's that great, but that certainly isn't enough. They have some good, young, promising talent. They have some good pieces, but their overall nucleus has to change and grow. You're listening to the Basketball Show on Sports 1440. Paul Sir with Brian and Ryan. Let's go to the playoffs. We have a few minutes here. Let's go to the playoffs themselves. Ryan, I'll jump to you real quickly. The most compelling first-round matchup in the East for you?
In the East, it's just a couple there. The Sixers and Knicks is going to be a crazy first-round matchup. As we know, the Sixers falling off a little bit just because of the Embiid injury kind of makes this weird fluctuation with the seeding. The couple of these first rounds, the underdogs wouldn't be surprised if they won. Like, I don't think if the Sixers beat the Knicks, I don't think anyone would be surprised. And as well with the 8-1 matchup, the Heat and the Celtics, I don't think anyone would be surprised if people I guess would be surprised, but the Heat have done this before. They've beat the Celtics in the playoffs recently, and Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is a different animal. So the East is very interesting with just the lower seeds having chances to take those high seeds on. So I'd say the Knicks and the Sixers is the most compelling first-round matchup, but all of them, you could kind of go either way. Even the Pacers-Bucks, you wouldn't be surprised if the lower seed Pacers won there. It's a lot of intriguing matchups, Paul.
Okay, thank you for that, Ryan. I'm going to jump to you, Brian, for the West. What's the most compelling matchup there?
Probably. Actually, I got 2 of them. I'm going to go because I haven't.
Neither of you guys listen. I ask for 1, I get 10. That's all right. We'll go ahead.
I can't. Well, I actually filled out my bracket last night, and I still haven't locked in my final picks on these 2 series, and it's Dallas, the Clippers, and Suns, Timberwolves. And those 2 ones, I just have no idea. Dallas has been playing so well lately. The Clippers are the Clippers, and we're not sure what the status is of Kawhi. So,
geez, that's a shock.
Yeah.
That's never happened before, has it?
Right. Not since 2019.
No.
So, and then we have the Suns and the Timberwolves, and I think the Timberwolves are a better team than the Suns, but the Suns have that kind of they got a bit more experience in this, and I know they're one of the more popular picks for an upset in the first round, but I think this could be the time that the Timberwolves finally make that big step forward. And I don't have to remind you about this, Paul, but I think. Well, they've only gone past the first round. Is it once in franchise history?
Once in franchise history,
which is absolutely incredible. So I think this could be it. And if they win this series, I mean the prize is probably going to be Denver in the second round. So that'll be something. But those will be my 2 picks in the West.
Good picks, you guys. There's so much intrigue, I think, in the East and the West this year. The West is such a deep, deadly pool of great teams. I'm really interested in how the Lakers are going to be able to compete against the Nuggets.
They're not.
I don't think they will, but I'm interested to see how they're going to compete. And to me, if they're going to make it a series, and I think it's unwinnable as long as the Nuggets are healthy, but it's D'Angelo Russell. It's not LeBron James, and it's not Anthony Davis. It's D'Angelo Russell. Will he give them that third scoring option that they need to be able to compete against a great Nugget team, defending champion Nugget team? Going back to your comment on the Wolves and the Suns, that to me is the biggest crapshoot I've seen in a long, long time. Because, like you mentioned, the Suns do have experience. Booker's been to the NBA Finals. Durant's won NBA championships. That's an advantage. The Suns or the Wolves don't have that at any of their positions. So that this will be interesting. But what the Wolves have that I like is their head coach. I really like Finch. He gets them to do things that they have not done before, which is why they had such a remarkable season. Will he be able to get them to transcend their lack of experience? Will Anthony Edwards, in a 7-game series, be able to be the superstar he's becoming? Will Karl Anthony Towns return to form? Is Rudy Gobert going to be able to change enough shots in the middle to really make it difficult for the Suns to score at the rim? What will Bradley Beal do? Like, Beal's been hurt most of the year. Like, there's just a million questions that we're going to discuss the NBA in our final hour. We're going to give our predictions as well, but we've got such great guests coming up that we've got to jump into it.
And I'm very pleased to be joined once again by Yvonne Ejim. As everyone knows by now, Yvonne hails from Calgary and had what we would call an epic season playing for the Gonzaga Bulldogs women's program. Yvonne, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cole.
Well, Yvonne, I really do want you to have the opportunity to talk, but if I list all of your awards, that's going to eat up our whole segment.
I know, right? It's honestly amazing.
It is, to use an Albertan term regarding the mountains close to your heart and your home, it's an avalanche of accolades for Yvonne Ejim. And a couple of them we have to talk about. Academic All-American, second team. And what struck me about this award is it's not just Division I, it's literally everybody who plays college basketball in the United States that are considered for this award. So not a bad crew. I saw on the first team, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers were on that. We're on the first team. Yvonne Ejim's on the second team. You're running with some pretty heady company here, Yvonne.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's a huge accomplishment, which is demonstrative of you are the quintessential student athlete. You're there getting your education along with excelling on the basketball court. And I think, Yvonne, why don't you talk about what kind of challenge that presents for someone like yourself who is so busy pursuing her basketball passion, but also looking beyond basketball about what you want to do with your education?
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey balancing all of that. And it definitely speaks to like what I came in here to do just academically. I am pursuing like the medical track. So being able to be a doctor is like one of my biggest goals, as well as all of the other basketball stuff that I want to do. So just being able to kind of be recognized for that just shows that the work that I've done, all the studying, all those late nights are paying off, and I'm learning how I want to. And I think that's just an amazing feat. And I'm just excited that I was able to do that during this season, and then also like other seasons as well. So very proud, and then just very excited for like what's to come.
And there's lots more to come. I'm going to touch on one other award because of its significance. And that, of course, is the Becky Hammon Player of the Year Award, which is given to the best, what they call mid-major, what is deemed the mid-major player of the year. You were, I believe, you were nominated for it last year, Yvonne. This year, you won it. Yeah. What does this award mean to you?
It definitely means a lot. It kind of just shows a little bit, not only of the jumps that I've made from last season to this season, but also all of the things surrounding me that has gotten me here too. I wouldn't have been put in the position to even be nominated if it wasn't for my teammates, if it wasn't for my coaches. So I think what we've been able to build here at Gonzaga and how we've been able to develop from last year to this year also is kind of represented in that accomplishment too, and that feat. And I think it just speaks to how much growth is continuing to happen, not only for myself, but for my team too. So I'm just very excited. I'm very proud of myself and everyone that was able to kind of support me and get me here. So I'm definitely super happy to be able to receive such an award.
And what an award to be singled out like that, Yvonne. I know it isn't lost on you of what its significance is. Now, you mentioned teammates and coaches. Your coach is Coach of the Year. Two of your teammates, Kaylin Trong and Brianna Maxwell, were just drafted in the second round by the WNBA. How do you guys even get into the gym? I mean, your heads have to be so big. They've had to widen the doors for you, haven't they?
Our heads have about that big. I hope not.
Well, they could. It's a testament to you that yours hasn't. But what a successful year to have the mid-major player of the year, have two of her teammates be drafted by the WNBA, because you have said you're coming back for your COVID year, I guess they call it. How did that make you feel when you saw your teammates get drafted? Did you have any kind of a twinge or thought that maybe you could have dove into?
I feel like, if anything, just a lot of joy for my teammates. I kind of knew it. Like, I see it every single day. I know what they're capable of. And just them being able to be recognized for that, I mean, it just speaks to, like, how amazing they are. So I'm just super proud and super excited for them. I do believe that every single one of them is going to have amazing, like, professional careers. So I'm excited for how that starts and for how that progresses, not only for those two, but for each of my teammates as well. And then, if anything, just speaking on myself, I mean, I know what my teammates are capable of. I don't think that really takes away really anything and where I think I could have been. I know that I'm coming back. So really, like, the next year is really what's on my mind, not what could have been, if anything.
Well, I'm gonna press you a little bit on something that is a very common occurrence right now. I'm not letting you off easy today here, Yvonne. So I'm going to test your mettle here. Have you ever considered the transfer portal?
Not really. I think if anything, it definitely came into discussion, I guess, in a way, in me deciding to come back for fifth year. But I think if anything, I did know like what I've been able to do here at Gonzaga, what I've been able to build, and how I've been able to grow and still accomplish things in this environment, in this area, and what you would consider a mid-major school or whatever. And I think it was really just like finding it in myself, like if that really was like where I wanted to stay, where I wanted to be. And I think that was mainly like the conversation that I had considering a fifth year. Obviously the transfer portal is a big thing, and there are definitely a lot of athletes like looking into that and like, you know, finding different opportunities through that. But I think the opportunities that I was looking for were here at Gonzaga, and it was just me being able to find them before deciding to, you know, go that route.
I hear little echoes of "There's no place like home" from the Wizard of Oz here, and I really appreciate that about you, Yvonne, because I think the transfer portal offers opportunities, no question about it, for athletes that they haven't had before. But when you see athletes playing in 4 schools in 4 years, how difficult that's got to be difficult for programs to be able to balance out recruiting certain athletes into their program, building with them, but then always feeling like both on the athletes and on the coaches side that the grass can always be greener in building a team and fracturing relationships for people who are developing and are building your program.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think if anything, just to speak on it from like my opinion, I think it also considers in the factor of trust, like how you trust yourself, how you trust your program, how you trust your team. And I think when we started like freshmen and, you know, kids coming out of university or coming from different countries and things like that, like it's hard to find a place that you can trust. But I knew the options that I had, like the schools that I was considering, those are places that I could trust wholeheartedly to stay here for 4 years and put me in a position to accomplish my goals. So, I mean, to speak to that, like that's also what came into the decision of my fifth year. Like I trusted this program from the moment I got here. And I think that's really what kept me here as well.
Well, I think the axiom, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, really applies to your situation,
Exactly.
Yvonne, especially when you talk about the kind of trust that has been built and earned by everybody involved in your life, yourself, with your coaches, with your teammates, with your school, with your community. And we both know, I have some familiarity with Spokane. You're in a very special community, very tight-knit, very supportive, very caring community, which is you don't find in every major Division I program, do you?
Yes, of course. It's definitely special here in the Kennel, in Spokane, at Gonzaga. Yeah.
We're talking with Yvonne Ejim, winner of too many awards for me to even begin to mention here on the basketball show. Yvonne, this summer, what are your plans for this summer? There's this little thing called the Olympics in Paris. You have any plans or ambitions to be playing with Team Canada?
That's been my only ambition. It's probably one of my absolute biggest dreams turned into a goal, turned into something that's attainable. And I think that feat in and of itself, being able to say that I could be on the Olympic team, like it brings so much joy, not only to myself, but I feel like the kind of like my process and my journey as a basketball player. So, you know, it's amazing to say that I have the opportunity to do that, the opportunity to represent my country, represent something more than myself. So I'm just excited for all that's to come this summer for sure.
What a big summer for Canada. The men's team is qualified. The women's team have qualified. Now, I can imagine what it was like being at that game where you actually lost and then had to watch your fate be decided by Spain in the next game. That must have been a very anxious room you were sitting in.
Oh yeah, well, I stayed at that game for up until halftime, and then, you know, they were. I remember it like it was yesterday, but they were down by 22, and I was like, I can't be here anymore. So me and a couple teammates left because we were like, yeah, we don't want to stay for the rest of the game. Like
headed for the exits.
Yeah,
I can
and then
see
we got
why. I
back.
mean, that must have been just at that moment, looking at that kind of deficit, you must have been very, very discouraged.
Oh, yeah. Just a little bit, but then we kept track of it when we got back to the hotel, and definitely a lot of joy, relief, and kind of just like gratitude for not only the opportunity that like us as a team gets, but especially some of my older players, just being able to see them like so happy and so like joyous that they get another opportunity at the Olympics again. I think that was also a super special moment to see when we did qualify.
Well, you've got now you've got to go through a tryout process, I assume, for the team to be selected. Yeah. Then you have some preliminary tournaments that you're going to be playing in. And then the Olympics are, I believe, the first week of August for 5-on-5 basketball. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot there. Well, I can't say enough, Yvonne, about what you've accomplished. But I also can't say enough about the way you've accomplished it, the way you carry yourself, the humility that you've been able to maintain, and the fact that you have your sights set on such lofty goals, coming back, helping your Gonzaga program move forward, your dreams of medical school past your playing career, and there's still an awful lot to go there. Any parting thoughts for our listeners about what Alberta means to you in this journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when I was in the tournament and things like that, and just being able to play on home court and even have some of my friends and family come and watch me, and then all the support that I got from people back home too. I think that really shows the kind of the connections that I still have, no matter how far away I am from home, no matter how many years it's been since I've seen some teachers, there's some classmates, or some coaches and like younger teammates that are still like, be like encouraging and supporting me, and also people that are like being inspired by me as well. I got a lot of different messages just during the tournament, and I think it was very heartwarming in and of itself for that, to be able to be like, yep, like we're here right now, but like I have so many people behind me that are seeing me here and right now in this moment. And I think that's really what made this tournament so special. So I'm very grateful to everyone that continue to give me support, sent me like a little message, and was just keeping track of like basketball in general, whether it was my team or whether it was different like NCAA teams, for sure.
I was going to let you go, Yvonne, but I have to ask one more question. What a year, and we've touched on this before, but what a year for women's basketball, especially at the NCAA level. My goodness, to be part of that tidal wave of popularity. Boy, that has to be a special part of your journey.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an amazing accolade, I think, not only for the players this year, but the players that have come before us. I mean, we wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have gotten the opportunities we've gotten if it weren't for different players that have played the game, supported the game, advocated for the game, and things like that. So definitely a true accomplishment, and a true pride to be able to, continue to set new standards and new heights for women's basketball this year and also the years to come as well.
Well, you're a big part of it, Yvonne. Yvonne Ejim, standout performer for the Gonzaga Bulldogs women's basketball team, hailing from Calgary, Alberta, and a great friend of the program, and someone that your entire city, province, and country is supportive of, and watching you progress and have all the achievements you have, Yvonne. It brings joy to a lot of people. Thank you so much for joining me once again.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Boy, oh boy, how do you make that up? A young lady like that with the kind of gifts, loyalty, accomplishments, all wrapped into to one individual. So really, really grateful Yvonne was able to join us today. So let's jump to you, Ryan. We've got we appreciate all the feedback that we're getting online. So talk about what's coming in.
For sure. We're going to talk about a couple of replies on Twitter as well as some texts. First, Marcus from Sherwood Park says, curious if Embiid can play in what might be a longer series against the Knicks. If he's healthy, the Sixers are a contender in the East, but I'm not convinced he's anywhere near 100%. Someone replied, Eden replied with, I think the Knicks are a dark horse to make the finals. They have a great team and have been playing well. As a follow-up, then just in injuries in general, Marcus also mentioned that he said, interesting how injuries and health of superstars continues to be a theme. If Zion can return to the lineup, it'll be interesting to see how a young Thunder roster handles the pressure of being a number 1 seed in a competitive bracket. So some injury talk there. Also over text message-wise, there's one text that popped out from Spicy Guy Bry, and he says, the Boston Celtics are winning the NBA championship. I know it's the easy pick to make, but they've been the best team all year. We appreciate the replies and some good takes, honestly. It's stuff we can get behind and discuss.
Well, I'll tell you, how can you not read Spicy Guy Bry? That's the best name we've had. Is that you, Brian? Was that you texting in?
How come I haven't been given this nickname? We've been doing this for all these years. And
whenever I think of Brian, I think, what a spicy guy. So somebody stole your thunder.
I guess they beat me to it. I should have trademarked it, huh?
Well, thanks to Spicy Guy Bry, Marcus, and everyone who's been texting in. How about our poll? How's that going?
Yeah, so the poll on Twitter is also doing pretty good here. Some results that to be expected. The bigger markets are winning. So the Sixers have 52.9% of the vote, kind of on tune with what Marcus and Eden were discussing with injuries. If they get it together, they have a good chance of winning that series. And the Los Angeles Lakers, with arguably one of the greatest of all time, LeBron James, 35% of the vote there. Just a fun fact, LeBron averaging 25 points per game for 20 consecutive years. Is just a mind-blowing statistic if you think about it.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I'm still not saying LeBron's the greatest of all time. I think but I think that what he accomplished this year is unparalleled. Nobody's ever done this at this age. Nobody's even come close. Michael Jordan at that age, when he was in that just disastrous Washington stint of his, was still an all-star and averaging 20 points a game, and people thought that was unbelievable at the time. 25, and when you watch LeBron play, you can tell Father Time's caught up a little bit, but not that much. He does not play like a 39-year-old man. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Chris from the Indiana Pacers. Chris Denari is going to join us. We'll talk about the Pacers as they gear up for their first-round matchup, and we'll talk a bit about the NBA playoffs as well. And we are pleased to welcome back Chris Denari, the play-by-play voice of the Indiana Pacers, to the program. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Just have about an hour or so before I head to the airport to fly to Milwaukee. So just try to get some stuff done around the house. Got the lawn mowed. It was, and you got to do the regular things. And my wife is up at our son and daughter-in-law's house doing a project. So I'm just here with the dogs, got the lawn mowed, and I'll be heading to the airport in about an hour and a half.
Well, I'd like to say we just got our snow shoveled, but we haven't had the problem of mowing the lawn yet, Chris. But I am really impressed with your domestic dedication. Well,
I enjoy it. I've got here almost an acre where I live, and I mow it. I just also, in the course of the last 3 weeks in and around games, and also this past week, since we didn't have any games, I did go to practice and stuff, but I built a fire pit. So yeah, I'm pretty handy. I can do more than just talk.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for making time at this busy time in between the projects and getting ready for the game. Let's first talk about the Pacers. How healthy are you?
We're probably as healthy as we've been all year, except for Benedict Mathurin, who's been out and is out for the rest of the season. He had labrum surgery last month. But everybody else is good and ready to go. I mean, there have been some guys listed questionable here and there with an ankle sprain, those types of things. But I would say when game one comes tomorrow night, other than Benedict Mathurin, everybody will be ready to go.
So the matchups with the Milwaukee Bucks, they will not have Giannis Antetokounmpo with them. Talk about the preparation now that the Pacers are making to take on the Bucks in Milwaukee, And without Antetokounmpo, how does that affect how the Pacers are going to try to play?
Well, I think they want, no matter if Giannis is on the floor or not, they want to play the same way. They want to play fast. They want to play up tempo. The Pacers played 5 games against Milwaukee during the regular season, 1 extra game because of the in-season tournament, a semifinal win that they got in Vegas. Rick Carlisle said, hey, we can look back at the 4 games that we won. The Pacers won 4 of the 5 against Milwaukee, but really they're meaningless because those came in the first 25 games of the year. Both teams are different. Milwaukee made a coaching change. Doc Rivers now the coach instead of Adrian Griffin. And the Pacers made 2 significant trades. They traded Buddy Hield to Philadelphia, and they acquired Pascal Siakam from Toronto. So these teams are different from, when they played in November and December and early January. And I think you have to prepare for Giannis, too, because Doc Rivers hinted yesterday, goes, hey, I'm not necessarily going to rule him out, even though the president of basketball operations did. The Pacers know that, really what they have to do is focus on what they do best. And if you can do that will take care of business.
Well, and I think, Chris, you'd agree with this. It becomes a completely different season within a season when you talk a potential 7-game playoff series in how you coach, how you play, trying to take away the strengths and tendencies of your opponent while focusing, as you eloquently state, on your strengths and playing the way that you want. It really becomes over a 7-game series which team can impose its will on the other team most effectively, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then the adjustments that you make between each game of a 7-game series. That's the beauty of a 7-game series, is even if you lose a game, early, you've got games to make up and you can make adjustments. And, what I'll say is just look at the play-in tournament last night. Both home teams were without their best player, but they still won. Miami did not have Jimmy Butler, beat Chicago. New Orleans did not have Zion Williamson and beat Sacramento. And so I think all you have to do is look at that. The Bucks are going to be at home tomorrow night, we think, without Giannis, and they still have more than enough talent to win. I mean, most of those guys played on their championship team a few years ago. So I think you really just have to focus on yourself and make sure you do the things that you do well in order to win the game.
We're talking with Chris Denari, the play-by-play voice of the Indiana Pacers, here on the Basketball Show on Sports 1440. Chris, talk about the transition that Pascal Siakam has made coming from Toronto and becoming an important and integral part of the Indiana Pacer success.
Well, he's been somebody, Pascal, I watched over the years, of course, in Toronto, and, they won a title and always was impressed with his game, but you get more impressed when you see him every night. And the Pacers have had him for 40-plus games now, and, his numbers are a little better than they were in Toronto. He's really been vocal. I think his teammates appreciate what he has to offer. That's the thing that I've been really impressed with around the whole Pacers team, and it's even before Pascal came, is from a coaching standpoint, Rick Carlisle lets his assistant coaches have a voice. So if you go to practice, it's not just Rick talking, it's all of his assistants. And you see that also with the leadership of this team. It's not just Tyrese Halliburton. It's not just Miles Turner or T.J. McConnell. I mean, they've welcomed a veteran like Pascal to come in and have a voice. And I think, I talked to a number of the players yesterday, and they said that have not had playoff experience. And they said Pascal's been huge in the communication in the locker room of what to expect and how to deal with it. And then on the floor, he's just been somebody that the Pacers have not had anybody like him, that in a late game situation, you can just throw him the ball and he can get a shot. He's a playmaker. He can bring the ball down the floor. He's been everything and more that I think the Pacers hoped they had. And fan bases loved him, and it was a good swing. You get a player of Pascal's, substance to add to Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner, not just for this year, and we hope that it's a nice run in the playoffs, but there's no guarantee, but all signs point that this is a place he wants to be. And if that's the case, then you've got Miles Turner, Halliburton, and he, sort of as you're building around, you've got a chance to be pretty good for years to come.
You really do. Pascal, I can't believe I missed this, Chris. This is this is not a good reflection of someone who's looking at playoffs, but I forgot Pascal won an NBA championship. I was looking at Indiana's playoff experience, et cetera, and that is huge. Because you compare it to, say, an OKC or even New Orleans, and not that those teams won't do real well in the playoffs, that remains to be seen. But to have an NBA champion like Pascal in your mix with the younger players and the aspirations they have, that is a real boon to your team.
Yeah, and then you add in, you have a coach that has won a title too.
Absolutely.
Rick Carlisle won it in Dallas back in 2011. And so you've got a player and a coach. Jim Boylan is an assistant coach. He won titles as an assistant in Houston. So you have some people that know what it's like to get to the mountaintop and win. But I think it helps when you have a player. I mean, the coaches help, and they have a voice. But when you have an actual player that was a significant piece and played a significant role in winning a championship, people pay attention. And I can assure you that members of the Pacers team pay a lot of attention to what Pascal has to say in the locker room.
TJ McConnell, it's maybe a bit odd to talk about TJ because he's a very important role player for the Pacers. But talk about his impact on the team, because I have to tell you, every time I watch the Pacers play and McConnell's in the game, I'm always impressed with the energy he brings, number one, but how he makes things happen on the court, both ends of the ball, but particularly on offense. He's kind of a throwback point guard in my estimation, but talk about TJ McConnell's role on this team.
Yeah, he's very quick. He can get to the rim. He's not afraid to challenge big people inside. He mentioned to me, probably a month ago after the Buddy Hield trade, and then when Benedict Mathurin got hurt, he said, look, I think I've got to take on more of a scoring role. And he's definitely done that. I think over the last 20 games, he's averaged 14, 15 points per game. And it happens every night. It's not like he scores 21 night and 6 the next night. No, it's like 14 tonight, 15 tomorrow, 18 Tuesday, 16 Thursday. He's been really, really good, and just his energy is infectious. Halliburton plays at a fast pace, and then you bring in the guy behind him that plays at a fast pace. And we've also seen TJ and Tyrese play a lot together, with Tyrese playing off the ball. But he's been tremendous, and he was a guy at the beginning of the year. Rick Carlisle said that he had a talk with TJ and said, I'm not sure you're going to be a part of the rotation, because at that time Andrew Nembhard was coming off the bench, and he was the backup point guard because they had Bruce Brown and they had Buddy Hield. But when they traded Bruce to Toronto for Pascal and Buddy was traded, they just felt that they needed to be better defensively, and so Andrew Nembhard was inserted into the starting lineup, and that opened up plenty of minutes for TJ McConnell, and that's been a boon to this team.
Nembhard has had, would you say he's had the kind of season you would have expected from him in terms of making progress and feeling comfortable in the NBA game?
Yeah, I mean, he's started over 100 games now as a second-round draft pick in year 2. I mean, that's incredible. He's just solid. That's what I can say about Andrew. He's sneaky good. I don't think, I think people in Canada recognize, what he had done, coming out of high school and that kind of stuff. Then he went to Gonzaga and people followed him there. But he's just sneaky good, and he's reliable, and he's somebody that you can count on. And so, it's been really fun to watch him progress. He signed a 4-year deal. That's what the Pacers knew they had when out of the draft as the 31st pick, they offered him a 4-year guaranteed deal. That does not happen with second-round draft picks. But the Pacers felt very fortunate that Andrew slipped all the way to 31, and they wanted to make sure that they had him for a number of years. So he's a great kid, has been outstanding. Even though he does not have playoff experience, he does have big game experience from college. I think the play of the Pacers in the in-season tournament back in November and December will be very helpful. And Andrew has more than held his weight this year for the Pacers.
Chris Denari joining us on the basketball show on Sports 1440. Last question for you, Chris. Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think anybody expected this kind of level out of Tyrese when he came out of Iowa State. I think people expected him to be good. Obviously, the Pacers really like Tyrese, but has he exceeded your expectations of the kind of player he could become?
I think so, just from the standpoint that he's probably done it a lot earlier than any of us would have thought. I didn't follow him much in college. I knew, of course, of Tyrese at Iowa State, and then he was drafted by Sacramento, and he was sort of in the background with, most of the attention focused on De'Aaron Fox. But what I have found is this is a young man that has a lot of energy. He's a leader. He plays with joy. When you meet his parents, you can tell where that comes from. His mom has said he gets his level-headedness from me, but he gets his just joy and excitement and the way he leads from his dad. And so it's been really cool to watch. The city loves him. He starts a new contract next year that's 5 years. No outs. I mean, there's no team option. There's no player option. This week was just named to the U.S. Olympic team. So he'll play for Team USA now in 2 consecutive summers. We feel very fortunate to have Tyrese Halliburton. And then, if you followed, I was the radio TV voice of the WNBA team, the Indiana Fever, for 18 years. 10 or 11 years alongside doing the Pacers. And so I was the voice when the Fever won a title in 2012, and we've now added Caitlin Clark to the mix with the Fever. So we have 2 dynamic passers and scorers in leading our teams now. Tyrese Halliburton with the Pacers and Caitlin Clark soon to be with the Fever. So pretty exciting times here in Indianapolis, and it's great to be back in the playoffs. It's been 3 years since the Pacers have participated in the playoffs. So a lot of positive things happening here in Indianapolis.
Great time to be in Indianapolis. Chris Denari, thanks so much for joining us today on the basketball show. Best of luck. Safe travels to you. Hope the lawn doesn't have too many weeds in it when you get home. And best of luck to the Pacers. As you said, this is a real exciting time for Indianapolis sports fan.
Yeah, I hope maybe after this series, the Pacers are still alive in a couple of weeks and we can do it again.
Let's do it then. Chris Denari, voice of the Indiana Pacers, joining us today on the basketball show. We're going to take a break and be right back with Leah McNabb from NBA Canada. Welcome to the Basketball Show podcast edition on Stingray Radio. I'm your host, Paul Sir.
And I am very pleased to be joined by the managing director of NBA Canada, Leah McNabb. Leah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Leah, October of 2022, Edmonton was the proud host of the Toronto Raptors in their first preseason game. But now we continue to break new ground in Edmonton by hosting the second ever WNBA game here. Why Edmonton, Leah?
Well, Edmonton is a wonderful sports market. It has also been the home for the senior women's national team for quite a while. And we thought it made a lot of sense to go back to an engaged sports fan base, a wonderful, wonderful arena. And all of the folks that work at that arena are fantastic. And so we really had a wonderful time. The decision was really for a multitude of reasons, but we are really excited to be headed back to Edmonton.
Well, I love the fact that the WNBA is coming here as the second stop. Of course, I would have preferred it being the first stop, but that's awfully tough to do when you're bucking Toronto. Let's just put it that way. And it was such a rousing success in Toronto, and I say that only in jest. But with our history, as you pointed out, Leah, with having the women's national team here since 2013, but going back further with our tremendous, really revolutionary, groundbreaking history with the Edmonton Grads, it really does make Edmonton a natural.
It does. I mean, it is the Edmonton Grads. So I was actually at the Sport Hall of Fame induction ceremony when the entire team was inducted. And to see the videos, I believe at the time there were two grads still living that got interviewed in that video. It was incredibly impactful for me. And I just thought that is a story that our youngest generation, in Edmonton, I hope they know, but maybe across the country they don't. And so it was a great opportunity to kind of spotlight that. The fact that they played against Olympians before basketball was an Olympic sport for women is also a really incredible, feat. And I believe they won that game. So that is also a really incredible moment. And I have to say, you talked a little bit about the game in Toronto. It was the most celebratory experience I've ever had in a basketball sense. The venue was full. We planned to fill the venue in Edmonton as well. And it was, all kinds of fans, people that have never been to a basketball game before, people who are diehard basketball fans. It was every sort of stripe of fandom all coming together to really celebrate the women's game and this fantastic introduction to Canadian fans. And so, Canada's a really big country. We want to make sure that, our fans on the other side of the country have a chance to experience WNBA live as well.
Very well put, Leah. I'll just make one comment. Then I have a general question about the rise of women's basketball. But what you mentioned about the Grads is so critical. 502 wins and 20 losses over 25 years in an era where women's basketball was an anomaly. James Naismith saying this is the finest basketball team he had ever seen play. It's so legendary that you almost feel like you're making it up. But the fact that it happened and the way it happened, to now be celebrating it with the WNBA coming to Edmonton really is something fantastic. I want to talk about the recent, and I say recent because it's only taken 25 years, but the recent explosion of interest in women's basketball. And of course, Caitlin Clark is the person who gets most of the attention, deservedly so, but it also harkens to and speaks to the persistence in with the WNBA in growing the fan base, growing the product, the improved number of players. My goodness, the talent that now just absolutely is just seeping out across the edges in the WNBA. Talk about what you're seeing and how exciting it is for the growth and the expansion of interest in women's basketball.
I mean, the growth is exactly what you're talking about, off the charts, just straight up, which is incredibly exciting. The draft, which was on Monday nights, you talked about Caitlin Clark, where she was drafted to the WNBA, and amongst a whole host of others. Our ratings were up 111% over the next most viewed draft here in Canada, and so that is incredibly impressive. I think that the popularity of the game kind of goes against a handful of indicators. We're seeing amongst Gen Z in particular that there is no preference on men's or women's sports. They like all sports. And that's new. That's not something we've seen in other generations. And so that bodes very well for the future of the WNBA and for women's sports more generally. I think the talent piece is incredible. I mean, the WNBA has always been packed with talent. I think the key difference here is that through their NCAA journeys, we've been able to get to know some of these players due to their social media presence, and particularly with March Madness and the women's game being broadcast here in Canada equal to the men's games. I think the people here had a chance to get to know some of those players, and that is a big difference. But there are only 144 roster spots in the WNBA. Every single one of those players is incredibly talented, to the point where there are fantastic players that get cut from teams because there are only so many spots. And so I would say that not only is sort of we're on the cusp of this new era of basketball, but those that are hearing about it for the first time, it's always been great, and we are happy to have them joining the fold of fans now.
Well, and I think to your point, Leah, what we saw this year really was unprecedented. But I love that generational point that you make. That the Gen Zers. I'm an American, so I still struggle with Z versus Z. But the Gen Zers, they really don't care in the way that the historical basketball fan has cared. But what I find is that people are finally understanding how watchable women's basketball really is. We've had, again, the good fortune in Edmonton to have the women's national team practicing here. And I know myself and a lot of people spend a lot of time just watching them practice, because the technical ability, the skill level, the level of coaching, it's extremely watchable and entertaining. And you really get an understanding of how tremendous these athletes are, not just skill-wise, but athletically as well. So I love the points that you're making about the growth. And now I think what's exciting as well is that so many other aspects of women's sports are being brought to the forefront, i.e. compensation in the WNBA. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. And I think this is the kind of platform I think we've been waiting for women's basketball for a long time.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's going to be great. I mean, we're really excited to introduce fans in Edmonton to the WNBA, element of the game. They're familiar with the FIBA element. We're excited to bring the W. We are also excited to introduce them to some of the new draft picks. It'll be the first chance for fans to see draft picks on both the Seattle Storm and the LA Sparks. And, Cameron Brink, another I think household name to come in the WNBA, Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, our best center in the nation, just really, really exciting elements for us to take into account. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Talk about some of the community activations that you're going to be putting on, because NBA Canada, the WNBA, they don't go into any market and leave without making a tremendous community impact. Talk about what you'll be doing in Edmonton, Leah.
Yeah, so we have, I believe it's 9 clinics planned. So we are working with a whole host of local basketball organizations, working with an Indigenous group as well to bring through our trainers from the WNBA up to Canada to run clinics with youth. And we are really excited about being able to host all of those kids, get to meet them all. One clinic actually is for adults, so, really running the whole gamut of ages. We'll do those over the Friday and Saturday. We also will have a handful of other activations that aren't yet announced, but they will be announced shortly. So there will be things in the market for fans to come see and do. Obviously, we still have some tickets available, so we'd love for folks to come and buy the remaining tickets if they're interested in being part of history and being in the building itself. And those are on Ticketmaster.ca.
Well, I have every confidence that this is going to be a sellout as well. You're going to make a tremendous impact into the community. Of course, along with the draft picks, the great talent, bringing Seattle in, a four-time WNBA champion. And then also LA Sparks having Kia Nurse come. That is a nice touch. I would call that definitely cheese on the burger. And we really are pleased that the great Kia Nurse will be here. She's no stranger to Edmonton with her brother with the Oilers, but with all of the time she spent in Edmonton with the women's national team. But Kia is always just such a welcome addition into our community.
Yeah, I think that we're really excited to be able to include one of the Canadians in the game, and Kia obviously probably being the best known of the bunch. So personally, as a fan, I'm incredibly excited for the game. We had a wonderful time in the Rogers Arena the last time that we were there. We're looking forward to coming back. So yeah.
Leah McNabb, the managing director of NBA Canada, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're really looking forward to you being in our community in the very near future.
What do we have on the Twitter and the final poll numbers?
For sure. So just a reminder, on Twitter, our poll was just talking about the play-in teams and how they're likely to fare in this playoff run that's happening here right now. Actually, I think the Magic and the Cavs are playing right now. The poll was which team's going to make it the most likely to win in round one of the NBA playoffs, and The Philadelphia 76ers look to pull away and win this one, 54% of the vote. The Lakers have 35% of the vote, and the Heat and Pelicans both split 5.4% of the vote.
Well, excellent choices. Philadelphia is enigmatic because it all comes down to Embiid's health. They started out gangbusters when the season began, and then when Embiid's health problems kicked in, things changed pretty dramatically. It's interesting to think that Nick Nurse is at the helm of the 76ers this year, and how much has changed over the last couple of years for the Raptors with not just Nurse's departure, but the conversation with Chris Denari about Pascal Siakam being in Indiana, and just the rebuild that the Raptors are needing to go through, and the mystery next year when everybody comes back healthy, who else are going to be able to add. But that's next year. Let's talk about the playoffs right now. I'm going to go through and tell you who I think is going to win each playoff series, guys. And then you guys, I want you to chime in with not just your picks, but why you might disagree. Magic, Cavs. I'm going to go with the Magic. I just don't believe in the Cavs. 76ers, Knicks. I'll go with the Knicks. Heat, Celtics. I'm going to go with the Celtics. Pacers, Bucks. I'm going with the Pacers. Wolves, Suns. I'm just a homer. I'm going to go with the Wolves. I don't know if I believe it, but I'm going with the Wolves. Mavs, Clips. I'm taking the Mavs. I think the way they've improved defensively, along with the chemistry that has really taken hold.
Kawhi's in limbo too, right? So
yeah, Kawhi's in limbo again, and you've got Doncic and Kyrie playing really well and effectively together. Lakers, Nuggets, going with the Nuggets, and Pelicans, Thunder. I'll go with the Thunder, just simply because I really believe in Gilgeous-Alexander and the fact that he last year was instrumental for Team Canada in helping them qualify for the Olympics. He really demonstrated in pressure situations. He's a guy that can be relied on. I have no idea with the Pelicans what they'll be able to do or not do. All right, Brian, I'm going to jump to you. Do you disagree with any of my picks?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
A couple anyway. I'll run through mine here quickly.
You click his mic off real quickly. Not kidding. Go.
I'm going to go with Boston. Hey, here's the first one I disagree with you on, Paul. I'm going to go with Cleveland over Orlando. I'm not sure do we have a score update here, Ryan?
Yes, we do. 33-26 for the Cavaliers at the end of the first quarter. High score first quarter there.
There you go. You're right.
They won the first quarter.
Donovan Mitchell and Mobley are both on pace for 40 bombs, so...
This series is a lock. No, I think, we were talking actually off air before the show that these are two teams that for whoever wins this, it's going to kind of be their rival. Neither one of them has much playoff experience. Actually, Orlando really has no playoff experience. Cleveland had a quick cup of coffee in the playoffs last year, but got dispatched by the Knicks pretty quick. So I just think, I give Cleveland the slight edge. I think they're a slightly better team. They've got home advantage, a little bit more experience, so I like them to win this series, but Orlando could easily sneak that one out. I'm going to go with Milwaukee. There's so many unknowns about this series. I don't know what Giannis' status is. Dame Lillard is a big-time playoff player. Indiana is all over the place. They're up and down. They have their good games and their bad games. So I guess I'm going with the veteran team in this one. I really hope I'm wrong about this because I've completely jumped on the New York Knicks bandwagon. But I was dreading this all last week because I was kind of watching the situation unfold where the Knicks were kind of, first they were the 4 seed, then they crept up to the 3rd, and then you thought they can maybe sneak into number 2. Meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, the Sixers are they're going from 8th to 7th, and are they good? And I was saying, whatever happens, I just don't want to play the Sixers in the first round, and that's exactly what ended up happening. With Embiid, the Sixers are, I think they're 32-9. You project that over a full season, they're the number 1 seed or number 2 seed behind Boston in the East. So this is not a 2 versus 7 matchup. This is like a 3 versus 2. So this is about as tough as a first round matchup you can get for the Knicks. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going Sixers. Real quick here, I'll go through the West. I like OKC. I think New Orleans is just, without Zion, it's a little bit too much to overcome against a very tough Thunder team. I can't decide between LA and Dallas. Let's flip a coin. Because you went with Dallas, Paul, I'll just take the Clippers, just to be different.
You mean difficult, not different.
Difficult as well.
Confrontational, I think.
Confrontational, adversarial. And I'm gonna agree with you on Minnesota. I think this is finally their breakthrough year. This is kind of a team that's been knocking on the door for a couple of years, and I think now they just have that right balance of experience, talent, great coach. I don't trust the Suns either. They're up and down as well. And I think Denver's going to have a pretty easy time with the Lakers. I think what the Lakers have done, especially in the second half of the season, and LeBron, as you were talking about earlier in the show, it's been really impressive. But the Nuggets are my pick to win the whole thing. So I think they're going to start off strong here, maybe take care of the series in, say, 5 games.
Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, if there's a segment on a show I've listened to before. It's like called $1 million bet, and if you had $1 million, what would you make the bet? And this is the bet I'd make. I think either the 7 seed or 8 seed, the Heat or the Sixers, I think either one of those teams will win the first round.
Okay,
it's a bit risky, but just that veteran leadership with the Jimmy Butler and the Heat making it to the finals twice with Jimmy Butler now in the last couple of years, and then the Sixers have been around forever. The Knicks haven't had a lot of success recently, but I will say on the flip side of that, if the Knicks beat the Sixers in the first round, I think it's a blessing in disguise. Just jumping right into the playoffs and getting that tough matchup out of the gate versus kind of like easing in and then ramping up as you go along. If you get it right up to 100% right away, it's going to increase their chances to make a bit of a run in this one, I think.
Well, what I like about the Knicks is I love Brunson, and I love how the team has rallied around Tom Thibodeau, and the fact that Anunoby is healthy is huge. If they had Julian Randle, I think it would look very, very different, Brian, like in terms of your feeling like they have a better chance against the 76ers. To your point about the record that the 76ers have with Embiid in the lineup, it is accurate, but is Embiid healthy now?
He's not. Yet since he's come back to the lineup, they've won, I believe it's 8 or 9 straight games. So
what's your point?
It's clicked. It's clicked. I mean, the fact,
you're right. You're right.
It's obvious that he has made even Embiid at 75% is a massive difference. So
defending MVP.
I hope this is the biggest mistake I've ever made, that the Knicks win this series. But I've been trying to talk myself into this for the last week, and I haven't been able to do it.
As I look across at Brian right now, dressed in Knicks blue with a Knicks baseball cap, I can tell you he is sincere in what he's saying. I think one of the intrigues about the Mavericks Clippers is the ongoing career-long health issues that Kawhi Leonard has had, and what a shame. I can't be overly critical of Kawhi because he's just been injured so much that it's affected his ability to be the great player that he is, which we witnessed firsthand here in Canada with the one Raptors championship that you boil it down to one player, and it was Kawhi Leonard. But I really am curious about the Mavericks. I really am. I was thinking about the MVP race as I was driving over here, and I was thinking about when you look at the top 4 or 5 candidates, like you're talking about splitting hairs about who really is the MVP this year. Obviously, Jokic you have to consider, but you look at Gilgeous-Alexander. They ended up winning the West, and Gilgeous-Alexander is the reason why. You look at Doncic, historic numbers, like historic, not
near triple-double.
Near triple-double and big-time scoring, and scoring in a variety of ways. So you look at those three, and then you look at Tatum, of course, and I'm missing one. Who am I missing? What?
Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis. I mean, his numbers are off the charts this year. And they still have with all of their dysfunction, you're talking about a team with the second-best record in the East. Third best. Sorry, I take that back.
Very close to second.
But very close to second, and that has been just like, isn't that bizarre that they fired a coach and hired a new coach? The new coach goes under 500, and they still have the third best record in a better East. The East is not the West in terms of depth of great teams, but they're still very, very good.
Yeah, when the Heat or Sixers are 7-8 seed, the East is pretty good.
Yeah, they are. And I'm really curious. I'm going to jump right now. I mentioned about the Mavericks. I'm curious about them. I love the trade they made midseason. Like, that was huge. Like, all of a sudden they become much more of a force defensively, and they have been, they've gone from like the bottom 5 in the league defensively to the top 3 in the league defensively after they made that trade. So very interesting. But I'd like to jump over to the Miami Heat. Why do you guys think they can move forward? The great Jimmy Butler, of course, but what are the other tangibles and intangibles?
Spoelstra.
Yeah, I don't think
Spoelstra,
they can.
yeah.
I don't think they can move forward. This is what's all on Ryan. But no, I mean, if they had Butler in the lineup, I think they might give them a series. I mean, Butler is out for at least a couple weeks, as far as we know. So I just don't see.
That isn't going to happen. Then.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know what? I think they showed a lot last night. Jaquez had a really good game. They have so many great pieces there, like role players. And Spoelstra, never count him out. He's always able to squeeze the most out of those teams. So I think Miami showed what they can do last night, and they could easily win a game or two in this series for sure. But I have a hard time seeing them getting past Boston.
I think they just need to win a couple games, like win one or two, extend the series, and maybe Jimmy Butler can come back hobbled and motivate the team even more and win a couple more. It is far-fetched. The Celtics are definitely the betting favorite and should be, but I can't count them out. We do this every year. They're a lower seed, and then they make the finals. All of a sudden, everyone's just confused. So
one thing we do know, they will try to make the Celtics' life miserable. They're going to try to disrupt everything the Celtics do. Spoelstra's going to come up with defensive schemes to bother them. So I have a two-part question here. I'll tell you, the guy, if I were a team, I'd want Jaquez on my team. He is such a great role player and such a great Swiss Army knife. And the way he comes into the league and brings that versatility, it's one of the mysteries to me. Like, why aren't there more players like Jaquez out there? Is it just his motor? Like his skill set, when you look, like he's not a great shooter, he's a good shooter. He's not a great slasher, he's a good slasher. He's a relentless rebounder, particularly on the offensive side. But I love Jaquez, but where I'm going is with Boston. Boston won the East by, 80 games? Like there are 80 games they have.
They won it 10 games in, yeah.
Yeah, they had it before the tip-off at the beginning of the season. But I still think that people don't believe in the Boston Celtics, that this is a team that's capable of winning a championship. Is that just because they haven't done it, Brian? Or do you think this team really has the stuff coming out of the East to beat the Western Conference champion for the NBA title?
Yeah, I mean, they're in Massachusetts, but they might as well be Missouri, right? The Show Me State?
The Show Me State, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's all it is. People are going to be doubting them until they give them reason not to. And you see this narrative with teams all the time. You always doubt them until they have that breakthrough moment.
Utah against Chicago.
And sometimes they don't have that moment, right? Utah never. I mean, Utah's big breakthrough moment was when they reached the finals.
Yes.
But they never had that next moment, and Boston might. They might be this year, might be next year. They might not ever have it.
They might not.
Yeah.
It's like, and you see that across all sports. There's tennis players that when people were looking at replacing the big three, Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal, that they predicted, whether it's Zverev from Germany or Tsitsipas from Greece, never have won a major. And they've been hanging around forever. Sometimes they don't break through, just like the Jazz. They were there, had opportunities. The Suns against the Bulls, they were there, had the opportunities. They just couldn't get it done.
If we're going to keep a local here, it's still waiting to happen with this group with the Oilers.
100%.
So,
best player in the world on our team.
Yep.
And still waiting for a breakthrough in the playoffs.
I mean, that's sports for you. So, I mean, I think that's one of the many fascinating subplots of what has got to be one of the most interesting playoffs in a long time. And just, it's really hits you as you're going through all these matchups. How many have been impacted by injuries to key players? Not just key players, superstar or all-star players.
Injuries are the X factor every year. The what ifs. And you look at, like, Toronto.
It's the reason the Raptors are champions, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Golden State's healthy. Are the Raptors the NBA champion? No way. I would just go that far as saying there's no way they beat a healthy Golden State team. But they weren't healthy, and the rest is history. But injuries are an X factor that you can't predict, that you have to just look at it. And certainly, as we go into the NBA playoffs this year, that's a huge factor in some of the matchups in the early rounds. Who's going to be the best player? Final. I need one player, not your two or three, Ryan. One player. Who's going to be the best player in the playoffs?
Jokic. It's Jokic in the playoffs every single year. He's played with those Nuggets guys for so long, and the chemistry he has with those guys. Actually, I think on our first episode, I guess the Nuggets will win the Western Conference, and they'd be the champion, and I still stand by that. Jokic will be the best player, and the Nuggets will win the Western Conference.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. Jokic, I'm predicting Denver to win the whole thing as well, so I'm going to go Jokic. And I guess if it was a sleeper pick, I think Philadelphia could sneak out of the East, and if that is the case, then it will be Joel Embiid rising to levels that we're not sure if he can reach given his health right now.
Wouldn't that be a great matchup to have a healthy Embiid and 76ers teams, all due respect to the Knicks, in the finals against a healthy Denver team?
Yeah. I mean, if we could get, and hopefully at some point in time we get in their careers, we do get those two going head to head, both at 100%.
Well, unlike you guys, I'm going to not be contrarian like you guys are, just to make my life miserable. But I agree with both of you. Jokic and Denver right now have to be regarded as a clear-cut favorite, but all it takes is one injury.
If it's not Jokic, it's...
If it's not Jokic, good Lord, I wasn't ready for that one. If it's not Jokic, it'd be Tatum and the Celtics.
Okay, and Luka Doncic, I think he's that rematch with the Clippers. It's a rematch of their series a couple years ago, and I think Doncic his playoff numbers are like 30, 10, and 10. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Jamal Murray.
Oh, okay.
Keeping it Canadian.
Oh, man, just a homer. Anyway, thank you all for listening this week. Please be kind to everyone, and thank you for listening today, and we'll be back with you next week on The Basketball Show on Sports 1440.